Hello and welcome to The Pulse. We're live from our studios here at Kokomlimle in Accra. This broadcast is also live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125, and on all our social media handles. We're joining you on TV. Minority continue criticism of the just passed Anti-LGBTQ Bill, describing the current bill as a diluted document with no teeth to bite.
NDC will come and sign that bill. They did not say NDC will come and amend that bill. NDC will come and review that bill. NDC will come and delete provisions from that bill and redraft it before we sign. That is a scam, and that is breach of trust. That is deception, and that is hypocrisy.
We're live in Parliament for the very latest. Thousands of depositors of Equity Savings and Loans Limited left stranded with their funds locked up following the apparent collapse of the company.
So we went to check and it was true. Fred?
Commuters expressed frustration as a section of the Accra-Nsawam Road, taken over by a pool of water and potholes, left vehicles stranded for several minutes, prompting calls for urgent action.
Taking me more than 2 hours, 30 minutes, and I'm still here. So I'm not going to put in that much. And by 3, I should leave the place because of the same traffic.
There's a whole lot of...
We have details as affected commuters insist the challenge must be properly addressed to provide a lasting solution and ease the daily burden on motorists. 32-year-old man seeks paternity test for 4-month-old baby after fiancé admits stealing his money.
She was not truthful, and she said a lot of lies, and she made up a lot of stories just to cover what she did and all of that. So that is what triggered the DNA.
We tell you more as 4 out of every 10 men who take a DNA paternity test find out the child is not theirs. This is The Pulse. It is brought to you by Defendro Cough Expectorant. Defendro, breathe easy, feel better. My name is Kenneth. Jesse, don't go anywhere. Good afternoon. The minority in Parliament has intensified its criticism of the Anti-LGBTQ Bill 72 hours after its passage. At a press conference earlier, minority MPs accused the government of making nearly 30 deletions and insertions to the original bill before its approval on Friday. Listen to the co-sponsor of the bill, John Intimfojo, who argues that the legislation as passed is a pale shadow of its original form.
In that form was not presented to President Mahama, but had to be mutilated, had to go through major surgeries, had to be amended, had to be deleted. Original provisions from the bill 22 had to be deleted, redrafted, and 31 insertions made before President Mahama would have it and desire it to sign it. Was that a promise? Was the promise to come and amend, review, mutilate, alterate, dilute the bill before he signs? You all remember. The promise was clear. Vote for me. I will come and sign the bill. On all their platforms, they said, vote MPP out because they won't sign the bill. Vote NDC. NDC will come and sign that bill. They did not say NDC will come and amend that bill. NDC will come and review that bill. NDC will come and delete provisions from that bill and redraft it before we sign. That is a scam, and that is breach of trust. That is deception, and that is hypocrisy. So today, instead of President Mahama to assent to the same bill we passed in 2024, they have changed it extensively. And what they have today is materially different from what was passed in 2024. Substantially different. You can't subject a bill to 22 deletions and 31 insertions, total of 31 amendments, and expect that the bill is the same. You have overhauled it. It's just the title that is the same, and you all agree. So they have totally changed the bill. And now, today, the mighty minority in Parliament and the good people of Ghana are asking, what informed the NDC's change of mind? What informed their change of mind? Their sudden change of position? If the old bill was truly ready for President Akufo-Addo to sign, and if they sincerely believed in that bill, why was that same bill not placed before President Mahama, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the same form for him to assent? Why did they now have to water it down?
One of the key amendments is the introduction of an exemption under Clause 9, which grants immunity to journalists, health workers, academics, and other professionals acting in the course of their duties, provided their work does not promote LGBTQ activities. Representing what they described as 21 deletions and 13 insertions made to the bill, the minority warned that the amendment could create dangerous loopholes.
9, which is the thrust of this matter. As for all the bills, please, you can just go through. You can go through and let's carry everybody along so that we all see the changes. So when we say there are 31 amendments, it is not an imagination. This is Parliament's own record. These are all the amendments. Delete, insert, 22 delete. So after we have seen all the, now to Clause 9, which is a major betrayal and which is an unpardonable, unconscionable attempt by the NDC to scam all of Ghanaians. Let's look at. That is why I stood up. That was the portion we got and I stood up with my colleagues, and Co, and we were forcefully drawing attention of Ghanaians that look at how they are smuggling in these alien, these counterproductive elements. Clause 9, amendment proposed, add the following new sub clause. What does that mean? This wasn't in the old bill. The old bill, they said sign a bill, sign a bill. We will come and sign a bill. This was not in. They wanted to smuggle this in. And for the record, this was never discussed at the committee. This was never discussed at consideration when the sponsors met the committee. And for the media, you are the same people. We knew well that these people, you can't trust them. These NDC government, you can't trust them. They promise one thing and they fail and do another thing. They are scam government, you can't trust them. So let us do the consideration. When we met at the committee, we went at Fiesta Royal and we carried you along with the live telecast. Please, can any media house show me a clip where under those considerations we agreed to or considered and accepted that there should be exemption created for certain categories of people and given the free pass to promote activities that engender, advocate for, and incentivize LGBT activities, and such people should be made to stand above the law? Who is above the law in this country? Any media house who can give me that clip, I'll be very grateful. And it's for that reason, in all transparency, we insisted that we do the considerations live. So if anybody says, oh, and a committee, they say it was your report, you went and considered it and they put it in, bring me that live telecast.
That is Johnny Ntimfojio. He's one of the co-sponsors of the Anti-LGBTQ Bill. Well, he maintains that the bill in its current form lacks the strength needed to effectively curb the activities it was designed to prevent.
Reflects, and let no one twist our position. We are not against the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. As a matter of fact, we have been consistent in our position and our principles. We are not against Parliament's authority to legislate, but we are not attacking MPs in any way. All that we are saying is that our concern is twofold. that the bill appears, and not only appears, substantially has lost the force and the bites and the thrusts, the deterrence, the efficacy that it contained and carried in 2024. Now, long story short, from the mantra of sign the bill now, sign the bill now, the same people who sign the bill now are saying delete, amend, and insert the bill before assent. Why the change? Ladies and gentlemen, it is very serious what we are going to reveal to you, because all of us know that for 66 years now, since 1960, same-sex marriage has always been criminal. Not so? Man cannot marry man since 1960. According to the Criminal and Other Offences Act in 1960, for 66 years, a woman cannot marry a woman in this country. For 66 years, homosexuality is criminal. And so it is already in our laws. Homosexuality, a man cannot have sex with a man. And all that is already in our laws. So, if you look at the watered-down bill that they have passed and what was already in our Criminal and Other Offences Act, the question is, what new mischief did they seek to cure? We all know that the only mischief that has been the concern of Ghanaians and we sought to cure through legislation and through the private members bill was to clamp down on promulgation, on promotion, on advocacy, on sponsorship, on support, on enabling, on creating the environment, clandestine avenues, the very people, agencies, foreign donors, and the Quasar State House, and other individuals, professionals, and groups of people, which we all know, make the promotion and advancement and the advertisement of LGBT most acceptable. Those are the real canker, and that is what legislation sought to cure. And so in the bill that was passed, when you read the portion, the object of the bill is sought to clamp down on promotion, advocacy, and such things, and even preferred 10 years imprisonment, minimum 5 years. But today, NDC have smuggled in various amendments that go to make the bill counterproductive and lack the bite to clamp down on those who are advocating.
Let's get talking. I've been joined on the telephone lines by MPP MP for Bosome, Frehu, Nana Asafo Aya. Welcome to the program. What really is the issue of the minority with this bill?
Thank you, my good brother. And let me say a good afternoon to your listeners.
I'd appreciate it if you could kindly speak up for me.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Let me say good afternoon to you and your listeners. Hope it's good now.
Much better.
Great. So we have only two issues. One, and let me set the background first. The MPP has never been against the bill. In fact, even when the bill was sponsored by 9 NDC members, and then supported by Honorable Intim Fojo, we were not against the bill. In fact, nowhere in our constitution, in our manifesto, in 2016 election, 2020 election, did we promise the good people of America promulgating an LGBTQ bill? No. Somewhere along the line in our government, a group of NDC members of parliament brought a private members bill. That private members bill, they wrote it, they did everything they had to do, and then brought it to parliament. Parliament goes through the parliamentary procedure. Don't also forget that that 8th parliament was a hot-headed parliament with a split group, 137, 137. So difficult. In fact, even when somebody sought to speak or sought to wish that a clause or a paragraph or a sentence or a definition on the bill be looked at again, the person became an enemy of the bill. In fact, the entire country were mobilized behind the bill that I remember very well that our own honorable member, Animedu, suffered a fate because he spoke against some clauses of the bill. You remember in Parliament, the Speaker, the Right Honourable Speaker, everybody in the House, if you know you are against the bill, see your hand up. Nobody could stand or speak or say anything. Some judge won't listen to anything. The NDC won't listen to anything. Everybody was hard on the bill. So the bill passed eventually. Then the bill, now someone takes a session or some sessions of the bill to court. And the Speaker from transmitting the bill to the President. Now, the Speaker now questions and challenges, speaks about his autonomy as a Speaker and Parliament, and seeks to send the bill to the President. The Secretary to the President now tells the Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the bill you want to send to me has been injuncted. That procedure has been injuncted. So desist from transmitting the bill to me. We do not want to be contemptuous of it. Fast forward. This whole procedure was created. The President, then Nana Akufo-Addo, was victimized. The MPP suffered the fate. We were told that the MPP, Nana Akufo-Addo, was the delay and the blockade to signing the bill. We were told that the entire bill is fit for purpose. It's ready. We were told that even Kenya came for appeal. The only thing they changed was the name Ghana in place, and then they replaced it with Kenya. Only for you to win power at the back of their propaganda, allegation, pressure. You come to power. Now you find the bill which you think was due fit for purpose. Now you find the bill not fit for purpose. You find the bill controversial. You find that there are about 31 amendments you need to do to the bill. You find that there are some clauses you have to redraft it. You find that there are some exemptions you have to give. So the question is, we want the entire Ghanaians to understand that the bill we sent to Nana Akufo-Addo to sign is entirely different from the bill they have passed today that they are going to give to President Mahama to sign.
Right.
The bill is really different.
Right. Nana, many are asking, can you hear me?
Yes.
Many are asking why Akufo-Addo, former president, did not sign the bill. Can you tell us?
So thank you. President John Dramani Mahama answered that question. He told the clergy that visited him that the bill never got to Akufo-Addo. He told the clergy. He was explicit. That time was one of the moments I believed and strongly still stand by that. President Mahama was truthful to the fact and the issues. The bill never got to President Akufo-Addo.
You just mentioned it, and it's public knowledge that the then executive secretary to the president, Nana Asante Bediatu, wrote back to Parliament for a cease.
I don't think you followed the conversation. Now listen to me again, for the purposes of your viewers.
Yeah, we're building a point. I'm following you very well.
Yeah, I'm saying that. When the bill was passed, the next procedure is for Parliament to transmit the bill to the President for assent. Somebody went to court to invent the process of transmission.
Okay.
Listen carefully and follow the issue.
I'm following.
Transmitting the bill. Now, the Speaker, and it became controversial in this country, the Speaker now challenges the authority of the Chief Justice or the judiciary, and he said that they were interfering in his duty.
Okay.
So he was willing and ready to what do you call it? Not to obey the injunctions of the judiciary and go ahead to transmit the bill. The President now says that look, you want to or you can afford to be contemptuous of the court, but I do not want to be contemptuous of the court. So please desist from sending it to me and let the court finish its processes. So that was the legal tussle.
Okay.
The struggle between the three arms of the government.
Right.
To the bill. And I'm happy that President Mahama himself admitted that the bill never got to the president. He did. He would have found the bill in Jubilee House when he went there. Because the clergy went to him to say that, look, you are now here. Please, can you kindly just sign the bill since you promised to sign the bill? He told them the bill is not in Jubilee House. The bill never got to the president. And the bill died with the Inch Parliament. So they'll reintroduce it. So this is it. So now, you see now, people are beginning to listen. People are beginning to, the chamber is now, I mean, because of the numbers, you can now listen to arguments and listen to the point people are making. So it's clear that the bill never got to Akufo-Addo. Now Ghanaians are getting to know that Akufo-Addo was never a blockade to signing the bill.
Right.
It is now becoming clear to Ghanaians that the bill was not a complete bill.
Okay.
It happened that the bill got the asset. That from the amendment, it tells you that there was going to be a fatal issues with the bill.
Nana, are you with me?
People made us understand that.
Hello, Nana, can you hear me?
Defeated. I can hear you.
Yes. So your argument and that of the minority is the fact that the bill faced legal hurdle. That is why President Akufo-Addo could not sign it, correct?
Even the sitting president even told everybody. The bill never got to the president.
Right. But the Supreme Court ruled on this matter. And as at the 18th of December 2024, the Supreme Court cleared the way throughout those cases that were a stumbling block. Why didn't the president sign it at that time? I know that you were not in parliament back then, but have you asked some of your colleagues who were in parliament?
Is it me that you don't believe, or President Mahama that you don't believe? Which of the two of us? That you don't believe that?
Well, I'm just citing public records. I'm not saying that I don't believe you or I don't believe anybody. I'm just citing public records to help this conversation.
What I'm saying is not a public record. He's saying that President Mahama openly saying that the bill didn't get to Akufo-Addo is not a public record. I am struggling to find why you are having challenges in believing that the bill never got to Akufo-Addo. Even when President Mahama himself said it publicly, which is also a public knowledge that you know that the bill didn't get to Akufo-Addo. So I'm struggling when you still want to say that why didn't Akufo-Addo sign? Why didn't Akufo-Addo sign? When you know, when you have heard, among the public records that you have the speaker's record that they transmitted it. You had what do you call it, Asante Meduetu's record that they don't transmit it. But you don't have President Mahama's record that the bill never got to Parliament.
But I haven't told you that, have I?
But that is what you are just saying.
No, I'm not.
I've told you several times, like 3 times in this.
Let's look at the deletions and insertions.
Thank you.
That the minority has really raised concerns about. Major amongst them is the fact that media practitioners like myself and other colleagues, will have been seen to be promoting LGBTQ activities if they were supposed to have discussed this in the previous bill, and the fact that lawyers were supposed to be prevented from defending persons seen to be among the LGBT communities. Health professionals were supposed to be prohibited from giving health care to persons who were perceived to be LGBTQI. Now, human rights activists have raised concerns that in the previous bill, if I may, in the previous bill, this would have been draconian. And human rights activists, most of them, have welcomed this as a very good bill and as a very good decision, because clearly these professionals would have just been doing their job, and that previous bill that failed to reach to the president, Akufo-Addo, would have been draconian. Don't you agree with them that these omissions and deletions are necessary?
Okay, so I am happy that we have dealt with the first leg of the issue, that the two bills we are talking about today are not the same. And I'm also happy that you have admitted that the bill never got to Akufo-Addo. Now, the third leg of the issue we are going to discuss is the content or the substance of the deletion. Now, I don't know whether you have taken your time to read the two bills. Never in the 8th Parliament bill did it criminalize a lawyer who was going to defend a person with a person of LGBT sort.
Okay.
Never in the bill anywhere was somebody who is administering, a nurse who is administering drug or administering medical assistance to an LGBT person would have been accused of falling short of any of the acts here or any of the clauses here. So let nobody put that twist or spin on the issue we are discussing here.
Okay.
Who said that if you go to court and go and defend a criminal, you are a criminal? Or you go to court and defend a murderer, you are a murderer? Me. And these are constitutional provisions. So subject to the Constitution, these provisions are protected. But
right.
Look at the twist. Now look at the take your time.
Okay.
In the old clause 9, the major issue of the entire LGBT bill is the promotion, the protection, the funding, the advocacy, the sponsoring, everything that has to do with promotion. And I believe that was why the need for the promulgation of this bill even arose. Because the point is that we got to a point in this country where you could really see billboards of LGBTQ. We were being forced, the LGBTQ concept were being forced into our textbooks. So the major substance of the bill was to clamp down on those sponsoring, advocacy, propaganda, promotion. Other bill, any other clauses here can be found in other laws. We have the Children's Act, the Marriage Act, the Constitution itself is recognizes and deal with this LGBTQ thing. The crux of the matter is the promotion and all that. So clause 9 of the old bill was dealing with the promotion, propagation, advocacy and all that. Now listen, clause 9(2), a person shall not A, promote or support an act prohibited under this act. B, engage in, participate in, promote or support an act aimed at changing public opinion towards an act prohibited under this act. Premises or any other movable or immovable asset, or provide any form of assistance for purposes of promoting an act prohibited under this act. So it is solely to do with promotion, advocacy, nothing to do with any professional conduct. Now you are coming to say that you are exempting this 9 category of people from the new bill, the new act you are going to pass. You are exempting the publication of an academic research and medical finding. So this is the same venue the sponsors and the promoters are using.
Now, so are you saying that the new bill proposes that journalists, doctors, lawyers, and all those professionals can openly promote LGBTQ activities and not be penalized for it?
That is the rendition.
Is that it?
Is the rendition? Yes, that is the rendition. He's saying that I just read the clause 2 that they are exempting these people from. Listen to it and put it well. Don't get twisted. The clause 2 is against promotion. And the rendition now you are adding is exempting these people from promotion. So what are you doing? You don't know if you get my argument. Nowhere in the old bill were a lawyer going to defend the client trouble of being perpetrating the same crime. Nowhere. Nowhere did they say a doctor cannot treat an LGBT person. Nowhere did they say a journalist, when you are reporting an LGBTQ issue, you are going to be arrested. Nowhere. In this act, you are saying that the propagation, the promotion, the advocacy of this issue, that is the major bane of this act. You are exempting these people from it. So what if a journalist now broadcast or promote LGBT simply in his journalism work? What if now an academic lecturer or somebody promotes or writes findings, research work, aimed to skew the minds of people in the promotional line? That is the point we are making. We are saying that, why do you categorically exempt them? Are you trying to say that the old bill found them, the old bill found them culpable when they are performing their professional work? No. So why exempt them?
Right.
The point, you are exempting them under this advocacy. So please read the two bill together. Then you understand the crux of the matter we are saying. So the point in Tim and the MPP is making is that if indeed you mean to put down the promotion and the advocacy of the LGBTQ, why do you exempt these people from it? In the potency of the bill. So 31 other clauses. Some you change the definition, some you change the wording. Let me take you to what do you call clause 1.
Briefly.
Amendment clause 1. If you are briefly, I will do that. Okay. You see, the bill is an application. This act applies to a person. In the old bill, you said a person who holds out. When they say somebody holds out, it is somebody's impression about the person. Holds out. So when you see somebody dressed as a gay, working as a lesbian, doing this, the 8th Parliament bill was applicable to the person. The new bill, you are saying that the person, it's applicable to someone who identifies or who professes. So the person now has to identify or now has to profess that he is a gay before this bill is applicable to the person.
Right.
So the two understandings are not the same.
Okay. I need some clarity in the previous bill. Of course, you've explained to me that in that previous bill, if somebody of the opposite sex dressed like the opposite sex, they could have been arrested. Is that the issue? Is that the case?
That is what is here.
Okay, right. So in that previous bill, bill, these days we know of content creators, most of them who dress as the opposite sex to create content, to entertain people. Were they also to be affected?
The one saying no, that was the bill. It was the Parliament bill.
Okay, so that previous, that bill would have also clamped down on persons who dress as the opposite sex, even for the fun of it, even for entertainment.
Because they hold out. I'm getting that because they hold out us.
Okay.
But this new bill is telling you that you cannot calm them down unless they tell you. So even when he's dressed like a gay, or you assume, or you think, you cannot unless the person professes. That is what this new bill is saying.
Right. So now the bill has been passed. It is waiting for the assent of the president. The NDC has promised that President John Mahama is going to assent to it, and then it will eventually become law. What is the minority going to do?
You see, like I told you, we have always been for the bill.
Okay.
We have always been for the bill. Even when it was against our government, we were for the bill. What we are saying is that, let it be clear, that the bill they wanted the Akufo-Addo to sign, it's not the bill they are getting Mahama to sign. That's number one. Number two, they knew the bill was not ready or fit for purpose, according to them. Yet they were pressuring the Akufo-Addo to sign a bill they knew had a problem, a bill they have issues with. That is the hypocrisy we are trying to let you understand and know. We are not against the bill.
Okay.
We are saying that, hey, look, the same people who were pushing the Akufo-Addo to sign the bill now comes and change 31 amendment to the bill before they are going to get President Mahama to sign. They insert new clauses. They take away clause 3, the entire clause 3 of the old bill, which is prohibition against subverting family values section. The entire section was taken out. If you want me to read and you have time, I could read that a person shall not directly or indirectly instigate, command, counsel, procure, solicit, or in any other manner personally aid, facilitate, encourage, or promote, whether by a personal act or presence or otherwise, that subverts the family value defined in this section 19 of this act. It has been taken out completely. A person who contravenes subsection 1 commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction of a fine for not less than 750 penalty units and not more than 2,000 penalty units, or a term of imprisonment of not less than 2 months and not more than 4 months or both. All these have been taken away from the new bill.
Okay.
So the bill you are talking about, you wanted the Akufo-Addo to sign, it's not the same bill you wanted. You are now going to give Mahama to sign. For us, you were not ready to listen to the AIDS Commission. You felt that the AIDS Commission was promoting gay. Now today you want power, so now you now listen to AIDS Commission and now exempt AIDS Commission from the bill. The donor partners, those who had issues, and there was a perception that when you pass this bill, they are going to have issues of financial or funding issues with you. You now listen to them. And now exempt them from the bill. So what is the point you are making here?
Nana Asafo-Addo, thank you very much. He's the NPP MP for Bosomi Freho. Well, let's stay a while in Parliament because the MP for Ho Central, Richmond, Edem Kotosu, has urged Kenyans to prepare for any repercussions of passing and approving the Human Sexual Rights and Guinean Family Bill 2025. He warned that the country might face certain penalties due to its stance against same-sex practices in marriages, such as reduced aid and other opportunities. He made this statement during a roundtable discussion focusing on the Human Sexual Rights and Guinean Family Bill.
Discussion on the Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Bill 2025 involved youth leaders, security personnel, civil society organizations, clergy, Muslim leaders, traditional authorities, and members of the public. Discussions centered on maintaining the country's moral standard, safeguarding society, and preventing the infiltration of foreign cultures that promote immorality, homosexuality, and other vices. Speaking on the passage of the bill, the Member of Parliament for Ho Central, Richmond Kofi-Kotosu, stressed that there may be consequences.
Therefore, if the grants are withdrawn, we can still steal food. They cannot say they will not buy our gold, they will not buy our cocoa. They need the cocoa in their industries. They need the gold for our mobile phones and other things. So definitely they will continue to buy. And with that, business will continue. So my dear constituents, let us brace ourselves for any consequence that comes after the assenting of the president. We will suffer, but we shall triumph. So mandate to refer it to his text and you come and sign it. But all I said was that we should be ready for any consequence. We have to live as a country and a sovereign one, of course.
He also criticized the minorities' claim that the bill was watered down before its passage.
Yesterday, if our friends on the other side, if they had their way, they would have said that we didn't form quorum. But they know that if they raise the word quorum, the party will say that they don't want us to pass the anti-LGBTQ bill. So they kept their mouth shut. They couldn't say anything. And all the things that they are saying that we have changed, after today, if they give the same bill that we passed yesterday to Akufo-Addo, he will not sign. Because he has made his mind not to sign. He will not sign. But Mahama says, I'm going to sign it. So the moment he arrives, the following day, it will be presented to him. I'm sure if today were to be a working day, it would have been to his desk for him to come back and sign.
The roundtable discussion concluded with commitments from participants to promote respectful and informed discourse as the nation navigates complex social and legal changes. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Ho.
Let's talk about fuel this afternoon because fuel prices have been rising consistently since the Middle East conflict erupted. Starting this morning, fuel prices have increased again. And joining me in the studio is Caleb Ziblim of our research desk to break down this for us. Caleb, what are the latest developments on this fuel issue?
Yes, Ken. So the Middle East conflict is still ongoing, and the price of crude oil on the international markets, even though it has dropped this morning from about $100 to about $94 per barrel, the price of fuel in the country is still very high. From the charts, you can see that the current price floor is 15 cedis, 49 pesos for diesel, and then 15 cedis, 20 pesos for petrol. Now, if you track it back to 2024, this is the highest we've seen since at least February 2024, where we're doing almost 16 cedis for both petrol and diesel. So starting today, price of fuel has gone up to about 15 cedis, 50 pesos for both petrol and diesel. Now, we know that the government earlier introduced some relief measures on petrol and diesel, and the relief measure for petrol, expired last 2 weeks, but the relief for diesel is still in place. For diesel, there's currently a relief measure of about 1 cedi, 7 pesos. So which is why we are seeing the price of diesel being a bit subdued, because it went to a high of 17 cedis, 10 pesos. At that point, without the intervention by government, diesel will have gone to almost 19 cedis. And we know that the government intentionally is places some emphasis on diesel because of its impact on the wider economy. Majority of the trucks, majority of the buses rely on diesel. Industry, manufacturing companies rely mainly on diesel because those are the plants, that's what the plants use to run effectively. So the government doesn't want this to translate into higher inflation. And the next 2 days, on Wednesday, the Ghana Fiscal Service is expected to release inflation figures for last month. And the indications are that inflation is going to go up again. Last month, inflation went up by 0.2%.
Right.
And that was without taking into effect the full impacts of the war on the Ghanaian economy, because inflation uses backward data.
Okay.
So for last month, the inflation numbers we saw was not for that present, but then
for the previous month.
Exactly. But then the current inflation numbers that we're going to see on Wednesday will take into effect some of the higher petroleum prices that we've been seeing for the past 2 months. And so this is the current situation on the fuel prices. And whether Ghanaians or consumers should expect some relief down the line, we are not sure yet. Even though crude oil prices went down this morning, it was because over the weekend, the president of the US, Donald Trump, made some statements that the war might be coming to an end soon. But then this morning, we've not seen any indications of any peace deal being signed. The Iranians say, well, they are still talking to the US, but then they've not made a decision on whether nuclear projects should be included in that. So if the US, Israel, and Iran don't reach a conclusion by next 2 weeks or within this week, next pricing window, the fuel price should rise again, barring any other interventions by the government.
And will it continue to be rising until something substantive happens, or it will fluctuate, because we know how volatile the fuel market has been?
So from all indications, the price of crude oil on the international markets is expected to go very high.
Okay.
Because for the past few months or the past 100 days that this war has been going on, majority of the petroleum products or crude oil that we are using are the stockpiles that these companies had in their warehouses. Now, within the next few months or a few weeks, the stockpiles are projected to come to an end. So once the stockpiles are depleted, and we're already logged out of about 30 million barrels of crude oil because of the closure of the Straits of Hormuz, the impact on the global economy is going to be very massive. So if things go on the way they are going on, crude oil prices are projected to reach close to $200 per barrel. Now, the only savior for Ghana's economy is the fact that the cedi is doing very well. But then if you look at the chart on the cedi's strength for the past few weeks, you can see that the cedi has been depreciating very consistently.
Right.
From about 10 cedi, 60 pesos, we're now doing 11 cedi, 7 pesos. That's almost 1 cedi addition. Now, majority of what builds up into the price of petroleum at the pumps are the exchange rates and crude oil. So crude oil prices, like I mentioned earlier, are projected to go up, barring any intervention by the US and by Israel and Iran. The exchange rate too is weakening a bit. However, the Bank of Ghana can intervene at a point if they see it's going out of control. But currently, the 11 cedi, 70 pesos is within the BOG's bandwidth to let the cedi float on its own. So in the coming weeks, crude oil prices take center stage, because the rest of the margins, for instance, the profit margins being charged by the BDCs and OMCs, we are aware that they are at historic lows, because the OMCs do not want prices to be very high at the pumps, which might discourage people from buying. So the OMCs are intentionally reducing their profit margins. For taxes and levies, we know the government touched the levy side of things, but they did not touch taxes. Because once you touch your taxes, it means you are introducing a subsidy that comes with a whole list of repercussions. Currently, we are still under an IMF program, even though we've done the last review, and the IMF do not really like subsidies being introduced by government. So we don't think taxes and levies will be touched further anymore. So for the main thing going into the next pricing window is the crude oil prices. And again, barring any intervention by the US, maybe some of the European countries might further loosen their grip on Russian oil. Once they loosen their grip on Russian oil, some more crude oil products might come onto the market and subdue price a bit. But then, like I said, majority of the stockpile that we've been using for the past 100 days are almost run out. And once they run out, we're going to see crude oil prices hit almost $200 per barrel.
Caleb Ziblim, thank you very much. Well, still on fuel, though, the Tema oil refinery TOR has recorded a profit before tax of more than 1.2 billion Ghana cedis in 2025, marking its first profit in a decade and showing a major financial and operational recovery. The milestone was disclosed by the State Interest and Governance Authority, SIGA, which described the development as a significant turnaround for the state-owned refinery after years of financial and operational challenges. According to SIGA, TOR's 2025 performance reflects improved revenue generation, stronger financial and management, and renewed operational activity following years of inactivity and restructuring efforts. A key driver of the profit was a foreign exchange gain of 1.2 billion Ghana cedis, alongside 155 million cedis in profit from associate investments. The refinery also benefited from improved operational performance, including the processing of approximately 600,000 barrels of crude oil following maintenance works. And SIGA further highlighted notable improvements in TOR's financial position, including a reduction in trade and other payables and 7.1 billion Ghana cedis in 2024 to 5 billion cedis in 2025, as well as better debt management and improved efficiency in collecting money owed to the company. And that's captured in that statement that is on your screen right now. Well, let's go on to Zoom right now and speak to Senior Research and Policy Analyst at the Institute of Energy Security, Smith Prosper Boahin. Welcome to the program. First of all, let's look at the rise in fuel prices over the last week. What do you make of it?
Yeah, thank you very much. And then good afternoon to your viewers as well. And then, yes, most definitely, before we understand the numbers with regards to the fuel prices, we must also appreciate the prevailing global conditions, as it were, regarding crude prices. And if you look at the last 5 days or so, the crude prices, Brent crude is hovering around 91 to 94 dollars per barrel. Which means that it hasn't obviously crossed the $100, and its apex that was at $120 somewhere in May or when the conflict started. And so it is important to point that out, and also looking at the current crude prices, that will give us an understanding of how competitive the landed cost of this product has been, and how it translates to the export prices as we are experiencing now. We also obviously understand that one thing I must also acknowledge is that during the beginning of this conflict, IES obviously pushing government, or made a call into government to undertake a cross-pricing intervention or subsidy, which is why we saw them 2 cedis subsidy on diesel, as it were, because obviously diesel is more akin to the industrial use as compared to that of gasoline. And so the current crude prices, yes, we've seen some marginal increase. If you look at the price floor that MPA released, we are seeing a decrease about 32 pesos with regards to gas oil, and mainly 60 pesos increase with regards to gasoline. And that's we have seen a marginal decrease from 2 cedis intervention, from the 2 cedis intervention with gas oil to 1 cedi 70 pesos, and now to about 32 pesos. And if we have to appreciate the discussion, it will have to mean that the world or the system has adjusted to the initial shock, as it were, when the conflict started, and effectively blocking the 20% of the passage of crude cargo. And so looking at that, if that transcends into our local market, will mean that margins have dropped marginally, and so government may not go in full in head-on with regards to their intervention, as it were. And so we just have to brace ourselves. So far, we are enjoying a ceasefire with regards to between the U.S. and Israel.
A very fragile one.
Yes, a fragile one. So the hope is that it continues. We heard over the news that there's possibility of an extension. In fact, negotiation is still currently even ongoing. And so that is the hope, as it were. We must also understand that government is playing the middleman here, because you must also try to sustain the industry as you are helping to cushion consumers as well. You can't overly cushion consumers at the expense or at the expense of the industry, as it were. We realized that at the beginning of this, the two preceding windows before this one, we saw how OMCs were complaining that government intervention is actually touching their operating margins. And so you can overly also cushion consumers at the expense of the industry. And so that will be a bit of analysis or explanation with regards to the numbers we are seeing in this window.
Let's talk about the profit margins that have been recorded by Tema Oil Refinery. For the first time in almost a decade, there are some profits.
Yeah. Most definitely. I mean, one thing is that IES have never shied away from commending Toll from this fantastic work they've done over the last 16 months, as it were. And they, I mean, announcing this profit is a major milestone to the development of the downstream sector. And in fact, to be able to get our independence with regards to our control with refined products and the crude products. Obviously, we also heard over the day, yesterday, with the president mentioning that we're going to be refining our own crude oil. We also, 2 days ago, to receive 1 million barrels of Bonga crude from Nigeria. And so, in effect, Ghana is consuming daily 115,000 barrels per day of refined products. And Toll's capacity to refine is, if they are operating at maximum capacity, it's around 45,000 barrels per day. So if you do the math, you realize that if Toll regularize its refining processes, they will be controlling about 40% of the downstream in terms of refined products, ATK, kerosene, diesel, gas oil, and the likes. And so the most important thing is that this development becomes consistent, you know, that we see its impact with regards to the export prices. And so if the price of cargo remains competitive, if the international price of crude remains competitive, we should see the impact of the gains that Toll is making now in the local market, which should be significant, knowing that transport fare and other goods and services are directly linked to the prices of fuel, and also to ensure supply security with regards to the product. And so, all in all, this is a major achievement that needs commendation from stakeholders as well as the citizens alike.
President Mahama did not give any timelines. He only said soon. But how quickly do you think we should be able to refine the crude here?
Well, looking at how the global trend is with regards to geopolitics and the dynamics, and the fact that Ghana may not necessarily have a hand in what happened elsewhere in another continent, it is urgent that we are able to curb these exogenous factors by taking control of what we can locally. And also, it is even more interesting owing to the fact that we are producing the products here in the country. And so, as for the timelines, I am sure a further stakeholder engagement will reveal practicable timelines with regards to what we need to achieve.
That's quite interesting. And will there be a trickle-down effect if it eventually starts, if we eventually start refining the crude at the Tema Oil Refinery?
So, yeah, I mean, most definitely. If you look at the cargo premiums in crude that this by bulk importers incur, they are embedded in the final cost of the product that we buy. And so if it means that if you're refining our own products using our own feedstock, it means that such premiums, such maritime premiums and other extra costs will be eliminated, which will marginally obviously bring the prices of the product down. And so, yes, most definitely. If you're refining our own product, Ghana is a net importer of crude, 60% of it, which is quite significant. And we know you need to use dollars to buy this product, and that, in essence, obviously has an effect on the exchange rate, which will lead to the unnatural appreciation of the dollar against the cedi. And so, if you're not spending much in terms of dollars to import a product and you are refining it locally, that means that one, your cedi will be able to perform better against the dollar. Two, you will not be incurring some premiums, insurance premium and cargo premiums that are embedded when you are importing the product. So you should see an overall a marginal reduction of the products in the market. But that may not necessarily also be immediate, as it were, as some consumers and Ghanaians alike will be waiting patiently to see. But in the mid and long term, we should see that reflecting in the market.
We've seen time and again what the increment in oil prices on the world market and locally do to our economy. Now we're hearing transport operators threatening to increase fares by a certain amount of percentage. Do you think they're justified looking at the current trends?
Yeah, depending on where you are standing, you may agree or disagree. If you are a member of the transport union, you will say that is justified. But if you are a consumer, you will say, I mean, hold on for the increase, because looking at it, transport fares normally reflect the preceding increase in fuel prices, and so they will be justified with the last 3 or 2 windows or so when we saw an increase we've seen a marginal increase in the prices of fuel. And another, if you are standing across to, you will say, I mean, when we saw from the beginning of the year, when we saw a reduction in the prices or in export prices, we equally didn't see a direct reduction in terms of transport fare. In fact, there were calls, there were, statements, there were some sort of unrest with regards to the fact that we haven't seen a direct reduction in the transport costs, owing to the fact that fuel dropped up to a point of 10 cedis. 10.11 thereabout, but we didn't see a direct reduction in the cost of fuel at the local pump. So the justification, or if we have to see a reduction in it, it must be a stakeholder engagement mainly. I'm sure that government will also have a say in it. Stakeholders will have a say in it by. But it must totally reflect the prevailing conditions in the market.
Smith, Prosper.
And then we must also equally understand that from the business aspect, if drivers are also buying fuel with marginal increases on every window, you must also look at recouping some of your loss and also making some profit from your business. But we are more concerned in the availability and how steadily the price can be in this window and the coming one.
Smith, Prosper Boahen, thank you very much. He is with the Institute of Energy Securities. Now, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, and the Concerned Drivers Association are urging the public to disregard reports circulating that a 20% increase in fares have been approved. The GPRTU and the Concerned Drivers Association held a crucial meeting with the Transport Minister earlier today to discuss possible adjustments to fares. However, following the meeting, the transport unions issued a statement clarifying that discussions are still ongoing and that no final decision has been reached regarding any fare increment. Let's bring you that statement. That's the statement that you see on your screen. It says that we wish to inform the public that executives of the road transport operators have not engaged the ministry in any transport fare upward adjustment. The decision by the supposed group is illegal as it has not gone through the fare adjustment protocol and procedure agreed between the transport ministry and the road transport operators. It concludes by saying that they remain committed to prioritizing the interests of both their drivers and commuters and will continue to work diligently towards safeguarding their welfare. And frustration is already mounting on the Accra-Nsawam Road, not because of faulty traffic lights or any major accident, but due to a section of the road overtaken by a pool of water and a few potholes. The situation, which has deteriorated again just weeks after repair works were carried out, is causing significant hardship for commuters and motorists. Some are questioning the durability of the repairs and calling for a permanent solution to the recurring problem. My colleague Fatao Bayaga visited the area and reports.
Commuters are literally spending a significant part of their productive hours stranded at this section of the road. Glaring frustration is written all over their faces as they weaved in between vehicles in search of relief. now overtaken by a small pool of water after the previous downpour. This stretch has become a major bottleneck, causing intense traffic congestion on one of Accra's busiest roads.
I'm supposed to be at work by 7:30. And it has taken me more than 2 hours, 30 minutes, and I'm still here. So I'm not going to put in that much. And by 3, I should leave the place because of the same traffic.
There's a whole lot of potholes spoiling our cars every day. Every night we need to go to, a mechanic for repairs and all that. So it affects our daily living. And at the same time, it's also very harmful in terms of driving.
Also, due to the nature of the road, we've been struggling. I'm a Uber driver. And using such road, it make my car. I go to shop always, and I have to pay a lot of money to maintain it.
Lazy, all around the city, we don't find say rough road when they are saying rough road. What about the third ones now? So many are you portals somewhere.
The traffic congestion stretched as far as Ofankor barrier, with travelers heading into the capital from Kumasi and beyond also caught in the gridlock. Despite being repaired about 5 times, the road continues to deteriorate, a situation commuters say is a major concern.
What I've noticed is that every time they come and cover the potholes, but the problem is not the road, the problem is the drainage system. And I could count about 4 or 5 times that they fixed this particular part of the road. And it always ends up like this. And also the way they patch it is very, very bad. I'm not an expert, but I am a road user and I know how. I've been using multiple roads and I know how they are. And this patch is made of majority of the stones. There is no enough asphalt in it, so it's not able to hold when there is water, when water comes over.
It's very bad, and look at the condition of my car, very low. So passing through like this, it's really affecting us. So we are pleading to the government so that it can do something about it for us.
This man here, who identified himself only as Kofi, was looking frustrated as he walked from Pokwasi to Achimota because he could not find any vehicles to board due to the situation. I walked all the way from Pokwasi to Achimota. What wrong have we done? Kindly tell the authorities to help us. A lot of passengers are stranded because there are no vehicles to board.
For many motorists and commuters, this is more than just a flooded portion of the road. It is a daily source of delay, struggle, and loss of productive hours. They are calling on the relevant authorities to take urgent steps in fixing this situation. Reporting for Joy News, I'm Fatau Bayaga.
When we return from the break, we'll get more on that particular story. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Before we went for the break, I told you about frustration, which is mounting on the Accra and Sawam Road, not because of faulty traffic lights or any major accident, but due to a section of the road overtaken by a pool of water and a few potholes. And my colleague Jacqueline Ansumaya is standing by at that particular area with the very latest. Jackie, what is happening there?
All right, Ken. So I used that road a few moments ago, and one thing that I observed was that there were 2 men working already on the road. I saw a heap of sand with gravels, which shows that they were fixing the road. But then there's still congestion on the road. You can still see that both sides of the road, for those heading, moving from Accra to Pokwasi, for those moving from Achimota to Accra, there's still congestion on both areas. So it looks like work is still being done, but from the look of things, I asked them if they were going to be done today, and it looks like they might not complete today, but at least there's a sign that there's an improvement, which shows that they saw the story that was done in the morning and they're working on the road.
Jackie, you ply that route on a daily because you live along that stretch. How does that contribute to the gridlock that is usually witnessed on that area?
Well, Ken, so for most people who use that road every day, you'd have to wake up early. For those of us who come to the office quite early, you'd have to wake up, not the usual time that you'd want to wake up. So if I want to get to the office by 7:30, I have to be up by 4 a.m., do my stuff and leave my house. That's like 5:30 before I can get to the office. And even with that, you'd probably use an hour just to get to the office, which is a road that is you are probably supposed to use just 30 minutes to get to your destination, especially from where I'm coming from to the office. So it's been a big issue. And that's not the only place. When you get to Mount 72, there's a big pothole there. When you get to Ofanko Barrier, most of the whole road, it has that whole thing right there on the main stretch. Even at Neoplan, you could also realize that there's a huge pothole to other place.
Jacqueline Ansuba Yeboah, thank you very much. Well, let's just stay on that stretch and speak to the engineer working at the site, Mr. Mahama. Welcome to the program. What really is the issue there? He's an experienced engineer, rather. Mr. Mahama, welcome to the program. I want you to unmute for me. This is a very busy road, which connects a lot of areas there. But usually we often hear about gridlock building as early as 4 a.m. throughout the day through to the night. From your experience as an engineer, what do you think is the contributing factor to that?
Well, I'll say good afternoon to your viewers, and it's a pleasure having me. I noticed it on Saturday when I was on my way to a program on one of the stations in Accra. I quickly informed a colleague who I know works with the Department of Urban Roads, who are those in charge of the particular stretch we are talking about. So when I informed him about the situation on Saturday, he assured me that it has been tabled to the persons or the engineers who are supposed to handle it, and he's sure that by the end of the week or the beginning of this week, they would have assessed the situation and then they will work on it. This morning, when I heard it on one of the other stations, I prompted him and he told me that per the information the report is having, the team will be going there to assess the tool and then undertake the remedial action. They need to pump the water towards Akwetima. You are descending down to go to Tesano. So it becomes a part of the acceleration lane when you are descending the Abokubi flyover. So it means that when the cars are getting down from the N1, they would now have to avoid the distressed area and move into the second lane, that is for those who are coming from Achimota towards Tesano, the straight flight. So that was why you're having a lot of traffic on the N1 who are descending and those who are from new plan coming towards Tesano. And so they need to get the place, what we call optimum. When the place is saturated, you cannot work to attain or to achieve the needed satisfactory results. So they are working up the information your reporter is giving. It means they have assessed the situation, they have removed, drawn the water, and then are assessing the texture of the gravel, and then to replace with what we call the crash rock, and then they will put the asphalt or the surface dress on that section. So hopefully it cannot be done in a day. It's not because they cannot finish, but they need to get to a certain short process. The material has to be optimal, to be compacted. And I'm hoping that by tomorrow, that section should be completed. If you don't have any rains, I can see the weather is forming.
Right.
We pray that we don't get any rains. Otherwise, it may take some additional days before they can finish that section. And it's unfortunate that it's causing us so much traffic because of the strategic location of the distressed portion of the road.
That place, most part of that place is usually a low-lying area. And even if the potholes are fixed, usually when it floods, you see that place gets affected the most. What do you think from an engineering standpoint is the issue? Do they need more drains? What should be done?
No, you obviously the design is such that once you have an underpass, the N1 becomes the overpass on the bridge. So it's not like it's a low line in terms of the design, but what it means is that there are drainages that are supposed to intercept the water and then discharge at each logical discharging point. It may be that some sections of the drain may have been blocked, because of maybe filth that would have discharged or had entered the drains. So I'm sure the maintenance unit would have assessed the situation. And for roads, you don't expect that you don't expect not to see some waters running across it, because you are talking about an elevated road and an underpass. So it may take a short while for the water to be discharged into the drains that are allocated for those particular streets. Like I rightly said on Saturday, and I've been saying over the years, sometimes if a road has been constructed and we don't experience flooding on that particular road, and let's say the road has stayed for more than 10, 15 years and you're not getting any flood, and then suddenly the roads begin to flood, there should be something that has to be done beyond the limit of the road. You could just look at the fact that some sections of the logical discharge point of the road may have been obstructed by a physical structure, or people have gone to reduce the area that is supposed to be the discharge point of the flood waters inundating those sections. So sometimes it goes beyond just the highway or the urban roads or the department of feeder roads. The assemblies who are within the stretch also have a role to play. That is why in the wisdom of the framers of this local governance, every assembly has a dedicated engineer who reports to either the Department of Urban Roads. If the road is one of the components or a project that was supervised or designed by, or it falls under the supervision of the Department of Urban Roads, you see the N1, even though it's a highway, at a point, a portion of the road becomes a Department of Urban Roads challenge. So when it happens like that, is the reporting, where we report it to. When I got to know about the situation on Saturday, then I knew that even though it forms part of the Accra-Kumasi Highway, is situated within the capital, and that comes under the Department of Urban Roads. So quickly, as a concerned citizen, as an engineer, I called some of my colleagues that I know who work in the Department of Urban Roads, and I got the information that it's going to be addressed, as the reporter rightly said. So, but one other thing I want us to know is that mostly they lump the Accra-Kumasi Highway as if maybe somebody who is working on another portion of the road is the one responsible. The roads are already being completed. We have the circle to Tesano, we have the Tesano to the new plan, and we have the Achimota to Ofanfo. They are all, so it's part of the Accra-Kumasi Highway, but they are in lots. Lot 1, lot 2, lot 3. Some of them have been completed already. Others are being constructed. If you go to Nkoko and beyond, other roads are being constructed. So that is, but I'm sure that let's just concentrate on this issue. I'm sure by tomorrow, hopefully, if we don't get any rains by today, tomorrow, by latest by Wednesday, that section had to be fixed, and motorists would enjoy the smooth transition from the top then coming down to go to Tesano. That is the only obstruction you're having on that side. So I think that what the media and then every citizen can also do is that they say in so once we see some of these potholes when they start to generate or to be formed, we have to prompt the local assemblies who know the various agencies to address these issues. So they will report to the various agencies. So we don't wait until we get to this situation and get ourselves. In fact, I witnessed on Saturday, so I'm actually abreast with whatever the endurance that we're going through on Saturday when I was coming towards Accra.
But Mr. Mahama, others will argue that there are teams that are paid to do exactly what you want citizens to do. So if now the job of the monitoring team and those who are paid to do this specific job is now being done by citizens, then really, what's their purpose?
I'm not in any way saying that. I use a word, I use a certain phrase that what it means is this.
Right.
There are apart from the engineers who are at the Department of Urban Roads, there are few engineers who are, let's say, they have what we call the area managers. one manager may be in charge of McCarthy Hills all the way to Akwete to maybe Free Pipe to La Paz, also to one engineer. So what I'm saying is that he's supposed to be moving around periodically to be checking some of these distressed areas. It doesn't take anything from a Ghanaian to say, "Oh, I've seen this thing in this area. Maybe it didn't get your attention." They are not, just like they are on a team moving to inspect it. They are only urban roads area managers assigned to the department of the local assemblies, and they periodically move around to assess the situation and then give a report to their heads. What happens is that when the area manager picks all the data, he takes the data to the regional director. The regional director would also lump the whole region's distress areas identified and submit to the headquarters, and then monies are released. It could be that the engineer who is there had done his side of the duty. He submitted the list or the areas identified to have some distress areas to the regional director. The regional director might have also submitted to the urban roads head office, and the urban road head office would now apportion a certain expenditure or funds for that. Then need to be submitted to whoever is responsible to release funds for those potholes or distress areas to be addressed. So if you understand that, you appreciate, I'm not the government worker, but because of my very closeness with them, I know how the system works. You know, the same way they do the budget for maybe maintenance and reshaping of some of the roads in the country. The area managers are assigned to look at the roads within their area and submit the distress areas to the regional director. The regional director will now submit to the national will submit to maybe the Minister of Foreign Finance, and then money should be released for them to go in and address some of these things. I'm sure that they should have some impress where some of those few identified ones could be addressed in no time when they are seen on the sections of our roads in the country.
Let's talk about traffic management. Even on a normal day, the traffic there is crazy, and now it's worse. What should be done to at least ease the gridlock that builds from morning to evening?
We have something, we have the rush hour. And our roads in those areas are restricted because we cannot expand them properly. One of the things I have also found when I drive in the capital is the on-street parking, where there's reckless parking, reckless stopping, people are just, trucks are just parking, unloading, offloading passengers. And you see, just a minute of recklessness at maybe Apenkwa or the main road has a rippling effect because of the volume of trucks coming from New Plan, the volume of vehicles coming from maybe Tantra, Taifa, or Franco Strait. The same as maybe you're talking about the Medina Strait towards 37. So I am of the view that we should be able to intensify the police vigilance on our roads, and then these CCTV cameras that are situated in locations where when you are speeding, your vehicle will be prompted. You have a prompt on your phone. But the last time I received a prompt on my phone that one of my cars was, and then I quickly have to call the house and find out who was driving that particular car. And I told the family, hey, this is what I've seen on the phone. So please address this appropriately. So we have to intensify this our CCTV cameras dotted across the country. And then if you can look at the pronounced areas where we all know that the traffic in those areas is just overwhelming, and see whether we should be able to take up the human interference, where the police sometimes physically have to be there to stop cars and then be asking documentation. When these digital ones are done, you get a prompt, you go in and pay, and then I think we can be making some headway in the country. But then in discipline on our road, the on-street parking, the reckless parking is becoming one time too many. I'm sure that if we improve on that section, the discipline bit is brought to its to the max, we may be seeing some improvement in our road sector. Obviously, you and I know that ideally, we should have been having a lot of these rapid bus transit systems working for us. If 10 persons are leaving their homes in the morning and all of them are driving, the space that we occupy on our roads, if it was one bus, would have just taken all these 10 persons, means that you have reduced the road by 10 vehicles or 9 vehicles. And so government would have to do more to get some of these things reduced and enhance functionality of our roads. The only thing that can help where we know is that the bus rapid transport, the rapid system is intensified or consciously improved. And I'm sure that we'll have these things eradicated or brought to its barest minimum during our rush hour. Christmas is also coming. In no time, we're getting there again. Last year was a hell, where from November ending all the way to January, we were having, static movements or vehicles stuck in the traffic. So what we call the origin destination, let's say we are picking Medina towards 37. And because of some indiscipline on the roads and other factors, the cars are all locked up on the road, whereas a lot of commuters are waiting at the origin or the destination and in opposite directions, trying to get vehicles to get to their house. I think we need to do a lot to get some of these things drastically minimized to enhance functionality of our roads in the country.
We're getting reports of contractors who are engaging in the big push projects, not adhering to safety precautions and safety measures, including not making space for signages and what have you. What's your take on that?
I think it's a two-way affair. I think that it happens to all contractors on all projects. Sometimes a project will have some of these adequate information signs that are made of metal. And these ones, they are not supposed to be permanent. They are supposed to be movable because of the diversion that the contractors engage in because of the activity of what they are doing. Whatever you see happening where these metals slabs are taken out or stolen by our scrap guys who move around, it's the same thing that the contractors face. That is something that maybe doesn't go to the attention of people. I have seen it a lot. The second one is this.
Okay.
I would plead. This is something that happens. If you want to be measuring ourselves with what happens outside the country, when we are doing a road construction, there's something we call the speed limit. You are entering a construction zone. Now, the standardized across the globe is 30 kilometers per hour or 21 miles per hour. Interestingly, you will see vehicles doing 3 times the speed on a construction zone. And yet, when there's an accident, they tend to blame the contractor. Some of the issues that you may find is not necessarily because there are not adequate speed information signs on the road. The contractor may have them, but you should drive cautiously when you are in a construction zone. And that is very, very typical. I don't see most motorists adhering to that side of the bargain. So we should all be, we are advising the contractors to intensify their signages installed on the roads. At the same time, we should be also to inform drivers that once you enter a construction zone and there's a speed limit of 30 kilometers per hour, you don't have to be doing 90 and above and expect to have your sanity or you have some utmost safety on those. So even the contractor himself will be working, will not be doing more than the 30 kilometers per hour because for obvious reasons. So you don't have to be doing any speed other than what you have been directed to do. When the road is completed and the road is designed for 80 kilometers per hour, you are now obliged to do that, or you cannot do that without any qualms. You're not infringing on any right. But once you are in the construction zone, please, adherence is very key to road commuters or motorists once they are in a construction areas.
Abdullah Mahama, thank you very much. He is an engineer there. Now, nearly a year after immigration officer Stephen King Amwa was allegedly murdered, the case remains before the courts, where prosecutors still awaiting key forensic evidence. At the latest hearing on June 1st, one of the accused persons, Bright Awe, raised concerns about his conditions in custody, prompting a response from the presiding judge before the matter was adjourned once again. My colleague Jacqueline Ansuma Yeboah has updates from the court proceedings earlier today.
Still in court. The case just ended, which is the case of the late immigration officer, Stephen King Amwa. Now, what transpired in court today? So we had both suspects in court, Bright Awe, the first suspect, and the second suspect, Thomas Ziga, all in court. Prosecution was also there. So according to prosecution, they are praying for a new date because the last time they were in court, they asked them to bring the DNA results. But according to prosecution, the investigator did the follow-up and it wasn't ready by today. So then they prayed for a new date where the case has now been adjourned to 15th June. But then what actually transpired, other things transpired. So we had Bright Awe also taking the stand. He had a couple of things to say. So according to him, he said it's been almost a year since he's been in the custody. And according to him, he's been cooperative. He's been talking about the fact that he's been helping and assisting with investigations. But then, in his own words, they've not allowed him usually getting access to legal representation. Speaking to family has been a problem, and he was hoping that that could be resolved. He also spoke about the fact that he needed a haircut because if you see Bright Awe, he has some dreadlocks on. So he asked that he needed a haircut because he's had that haircut on for more than a year now, and he's getting the bad boy tag. And for him, he's been developing headaches and all that. He wants access to a clean haircut and also get access to speak to his family and, of course, get good legal representation. Now, prosecutor also came in to talk about the fact that he's spoken to the investigator for them to cut the hair. Now, that's for the hair. And for the cell situation, he's in the BNI custody and not in the police custody. So there isn't much that he can do about that. But then we also had the BNI to right inside the courtroom, and they spoke about the fact that for the phone situation, they gave them access to phone calls, but then there was some suspicion regarding some of the phone calls that they were making, that some of them had to do with the fact that Bright Awe was speaking to someone regarding some visa issues, so that they took away all those privileges. Then the judge came in to say that if they have chosen to keep the suspect in the BNI custody, then they should try as much as possible to make sure that they are given that legal representation, because of course it's their basic rights. If he needs a haircut, they should get him a haircut. And also spoke to the suspects that once that opportunity has been given them, they shouldn't abuse that opportunity. I mean, also, of course, we also saw the family in court, and here are some reactions from them.
Bright, me dinija mi nyankopon. Me so my Ghana asem we o my nikra o my heaven be the asem. I don't know Bright ya me sir. One good year July.
Enema ketu bi na aka nti yensankan ya ama case no we ku yentman fan ko high court by me ogidie wo mu say next adjournment ne de say de tie bia na benya high court date na ya start case no by ne de we enema si ko ye no heading but ye be manage enema say de be ya ye bitima ama ya koma to ye mu ne atwen next 2 weeks no into busamia de ko ye ne de ani anye ho but CID for no ama ya tie ase say enema aka ne kakra bi nyame boa next 2 weeks no ye be hu de echo
say basically no prosecution can say no more train teach you a DNA no na ye ogidie say by sad next date no na DNA results ni nya to proceed.
No last week Friday me ne makonta kwasi ye friend doctor no ye hu ne manyina na yenim say last week Friday ni ensabeka by doctor na we indo so ekira mai etimaye forms no no na antime ama wo hye se ne ana wo kina ntimi ogidie say ene Monday ne enkopim Wednesday de na yensa aka eno na aka se no bade a me ogidie se bibia etuatwa ena DNA ne de eyahu ena ewo mu no kire se your case, your case.
So basically that is all that has been happening right here, and of course we'll be bringing you all the details that transpires here on the next adjournment date, which is 15th June 2026. Reporting for Joy News, I'm Jacqueline Ansama Yeboah.
The psychiatric unit of the Akufo-Addo Teaching Hospital is advancing calls for the inclusion of mental health services under national health insurance coverage as patients struggle to access treatment due to the high cost of medication. This situation is forcing some patients to relapse after failing to continue treatment, while others are requesting discharge against medical advice because they cannot afford prescribed drugs. Facility authorities are renewing calls for resources and medication support for mental health services to be fully covered under the NHIS for staff and patient safety. Here's a report by Clinton Yeboah.
The concerns for the inclusion of mental health services on the National Health Insurance Scheme were raised during an intervention by the Rotary Club Kumasi East to improve service delivery at the psychiatric unit of the Akufo-Addo Teaching Hospital. Head of the psychiatric unit at CATH, Dr. Ruth Owusu says, although discussions have been ongoing to include mental health treatment under the National Health Insurance Scheme, little progress has been made.
Ghana as a country still does not have a national health insurance that covers psychiatric care or mental health care. It means that we have to let our patients buy out of their pocket every time we see them. We know that the government is working hard to enlist mental health care on the national health insurance, but that has still not materialized. And so by and large, patients struggle. After they have been seen, we get some of them coming back relapsed just because they could not afford their medications. There are a few times staff have been attacked on the ward because they were aggressive and relatives could not afford medications. Some of them have requested for discharge against medical advice because they cannot afford the medication.
Dr. Owusu made the remarks during a donation of psychiatric medication by the Rotary Club of Kumasi East to the psychiatric unit of CATH. The donation, valued at about 40,000 Ghana cedis, is expected to support needy patients receiving treatment at the facility. Dr. Owusu described the intervention as timely.
And so this donation from Rotary Club Kumasi East is very timely. We know that we are in the Mental Health Awareness Month, and the theme is mental health care, moving from awareness to action. And I believe that this is a positive action that they have taken towards mental health care. Needy patients will now benefit from these medications. It will go a long way to help families, because on the wards and at our clinics, we have some fathers who are breadwinners that need to be well and go back to work to fend for their families. These medications would afford them that opportunity to get back working on their feet and taking care of their families.
Meanwhile, President of the Rotary Club of Kumasi East, Gina Akosua-Champon, said the donation was informed by a needs assessment conducted at the facility in line with the vision of the club.
For them, for the meantime, I know it will go a long way to help the patients and also the staff as well at the hospital, because that is what we stand in for. So that is what we do, service about serve. Our expectation is that it will go a long way to help the patients, and if not only at CAT and then the outreach, when they go for community assistance to those at the community-wise, these drugs will help them to also take care of those patients outside.
For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
In more stories this afternoon, the Electricity Company of Ghana is cautioning the public to exercise extreme caution around power installations in the rainy season. The caution comes amid increased downpours, with the water distributor warning residents to stay away from damaged electricity infrastructure, including broken poles, fallen conductors and sagging power lines. General Manager in charge of External Relations, Dr. Charles Ni Ayuku, tells Joy News customers in flood-prone communities should brace for possible power disruptions during heavy rains. There's more in this report.
The transformer changes at the Bachuna power station are part of what the ECG describes as planned upgrades of transformers to ensure power distribution to all consumers in the enclave. External Communications Officer for the Electricity Company of Ghana, Dr. Charles Ni Ayuku, has been explaining the reasons behind the upgrade.
We are replacing a 2026 MVA to a 39 MVA. As you are aware, it's part of the government transformer replacement and upgrade program. It also means that we are strengthening our systems and we are also expanding the capacity of our power supply within this enclave.
Dr. Charles Ni Ayuku has also been cautioning Ghanaians against going to electricity poles and transformer lines during the raining season.
It's a caution to our customers and the general public that we should avoid getting close to ECG installations during this rainy season. And when they have any challenge or issue with, or they see any broken pole, sagging lines, conductors falling, or anything at all, they should get in touch. They can call our contact number 0302 611 611 or report via our social media channels.
For the project manager for the transformer upgrades, Engineer Kofi Francis Achacha, more consumers will be connected to the transformers once the upgrades are done.
We are expected to complete this work by the close of business today. So by tomorrow morning, that our customers will start working. They have the brand new 3039 MVA transformer commissioned to give them access to more capacity to be able to run their business. So we just want to assure our customers that we are always available and ready to serve them better.
From the Batuna Power Station of the Electricity Company of Ghana, I am Stephen Mensah for Joy News.
In Tindoma, in the Wa West District of the Upper West Region, darkness dictated your day when the sun set, books closed, shops shut, phones died. Well, the narrative, however, has since changed. A community rural electrification project, which was started in 2020, got stalled. It has now been completed and commissioned. Joy News' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
For 4 years, Tindoma and Wilton went to bed in the dark, phones on charge, books unread. Tonight, they dance under light. The National Grid has finally arrived in the two communities. Tindoma erupted last Friday as the Upper West Region Minister, Charles Longo-Pozwin, MP, Peter Lanchene-Tubu, and DCE, Richard Wulu, commissioned a rural electrification project stalled since 2020.
If you look at the extreme end, the lights have since been switched on at Tindoma community. And all people here can now use the lights for all your gadgets that require electricity. So we take this opportunity to thank His Excellency the President for the opportunity given to this community. And it's our hope that these lights will open up the community and brighten up this place. Whilst I was coming, I've mentioned to the Honorable DC and MP that the two communities that have been connected, I as Regional Minister will also equally give them 5 street lights each so that the community can be brighter than this.
Charles Longo-Pozwin says the project faced a wider push to push rural electrification above 90%.
It is a policy of government that will ensure that we increase rural electrification in the Upper West region from our current state of about 87% to about 90 or more, or thereafter. As part of the policy, we have asked all districts, including Wa West, to ensure that we have a list of all communities that are not connected. When I last checked, the district without much rural electrification is Wa West.
He warned that overloading the local transformers could easily plunge the entire community back into darkness, advising residents to strictly utilize prepaid meters and proper channels to protect the infrastructure. Wa West MP Superintendent Retired Peter Lanchene-Tubu explained why Tindoma was prioritized amid tight budgets.
That the little money that we have gotten, we cannot do grungu, we cannot do metal, we cannot do cow, we cannot do varimperi. But for Tindoma, we can. And I said, I endorse it. Let's get it done, and we'll make progress. So the District Assembly, in consultation with the Regional Minister, we have gotten it done. And today we are here to say, let there be light. And as you know, those of you who are Christians, When God said, let there be light, after that, so many things happened. I want to believe that today, when we say, let there be light, and there's light in Tendoma, after today, there will be development. After today, there will be unity. After today, the young men and women in Tendoma who come from school in the night and cannot even study, you have the better opportunity to sit behind your books. And if you don't do well, don't blame your father. We have done the best that we can.
Huawei's District Chief Executive Richard Wulu credited President John Dramani Mohammed's directive to finish legacy projects.
This project is going to benefit thousands of people. Tendoma is a very great community, and I do know once it is commissioned, it will open up job opportunities for the teeming youth of this community and beyond.
For residents, the change is immediate. No more walking to other towns just to charge a phone.
Before, we were like animals. Yes. So you just sleep. Even if you want to talk to somebody, you have to be like a blind man. When you tag the person, then you talk to the person, especially the couples. Yes. So by now, the couple will wake up and wake their wife up, and they communicate and talk all that. So it's before it wasn't good, but now there is happiness even in the homes. Every corner of the community, there's happiness.
From darkness to dance, from blind groping to bright books, in Tendoma and Walton, let there be light is no longer a prayer, it is power. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Tendoma.
The Evangelical Presbyterian College of Education, AMECO, in the Ho West District of the Volta region has launched its 80th anniversary celebrations, calling for increased support for infrastructure development. Management highlighted water shortages and inadequate facilities as the institution's most pressing issues and aims to use the anniversary as a platform to rally support to address these challenges. Further details are provided in the following report by Fred Kwame Asari.
The Evangelical Presbyterian College of Education was established in Amejope in the Ho West District of the Volta region approximately 80 years ago. The college, which has served as both a non-formal and formal education center, has trained thousands of teachers, contributing significantly to the development of Ghana's human resources. However, it continues to face a series of infrastructure and water supply challenges, especially during the dry season. At the launch of the 80th anniversary celebrations in Ho, the college principal, Dr. The Evangelical Presbyterian College of Education was established in Amejope in the Ho West District of the Volta region approximately 80 years ago. The college, which has served as both a non-formal and formal education center, has trained thousands of teachers, contributing significantly to the development of Ghana's human resources. However, it continues to face a series of infrastructure and water supply challenges, especially during the dry season. At the launch of the 80th anniversary celebrations in Ho, the college principal, Dr.
Less than 1/3 of Ghanaian women suffering obstetric fistula in the last 10 years received reparative surgery. Health facilities across the country recorded more than 3,000 obstetric fistula cases between 2016 to 2025, yet only 1,000 women received treatment. And that condition is a childbirth injury which leaves women with continuous leakage of urine or stool, often pushing victims into isolation due to stigma and incontinence. The Ministry of Health, Parliamentary and the United Nations Population Fund have jointly declared war on the condition, describing it as a preventive tragedy rooted in inadequate emergency obstetric care. Here's a report by Clinton Yeboah.
Health authorities estimate about 845 new cases of fistula obstetric occur annually, with the national backlog now standing between 10,000 and 12,000 untreated women. a high-level delegation from the Ministry of Health, Parliament, and the UNFPA visited the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital in Kumasi to access treatment of patients scheduled for repair surgery, appreciate challenges, and push for concrete, lasting solutions. UNFPA country representative for Ghana, Dr. Wilfred Okan, explained the grave state of the condition in Ghana now.
And it is still in the same range, really, that on average 845 women get fistula every year. But it ranges from 700 to about 1,300 on the upper margin. It still falls within the range that is talked about. And if you look at 10 years back, the backlog, because we are already repairing, initially we are repairing 60, and now we've moved to repair about 200. So there is an estimated backlog of between 10 and 12,000 based on this study as well. So all this shows that there's still work for us to do to help move those women into care.
Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Grace Ayensu-Dankwa, announced plans to establish a dedicated, standalone obstetric fistula treatment centers across the country to deliver comprehensive care under one roof.
As one of the things that I've discussed with UNFPA is to see if we can give you a standalone fistula center. We have seen one. We have opened one in Yendi, and it was very interesting. The first one we opened with UNFPA was in Yendi. It's a standalone center. They have places pre-operative, post-operative. They even have places that women can come and stay before the surgery. So I think that we will write a letter from the ministry to propose something like this for here.
The Parliamentary Caucus on Population and Development, led by Patricia Appiagyei, and the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health, chaired by Dr. Market Nawane, also pledged strong legislative backing.
We've understood the situation. The Select Committee on Health is going to champion this cause. In our committee, we've got a lot of specialties. I mean, the officer and guy people are there, and I believe that we'll be ready to champion the cause for you, and we'll be able to impress on the executive arm of government to take this issue very seriously.
The dates are very short. We are talking about 2030, and yet we are in 2026. But I believe with some acceleration in the policies or interventions that we will churn out there, it will help. Because when we went to the theater, we heard the doctor, especially the one that has begun on the Akufo-Addo, mention that he needs more skilled doctors to assist and accelerate the process.
In a show of immediate support, United Nations Population Fund is funding free surgical repairs for 200 women this year as part of activities marking the fight against obstetric fistula in Ghana. Clinton Yeboah's report for Joy News.
The management of St. Elizabeth Hospital in Hwidiem in the Asutifi South District of the Ahafo region has launched a major fundraising campaign to expand its overstretched emergency ward and purchase modern medical equipment. The 70-year-old facility, which currently serves as a critical referral center for 5 regions, is seeking to increase its emergency bed capacity from 7 to 30 to tackle the critical no-bed syndrome. Emmanuel Edujemfi reports.
The St. Elizabeth Hospital at Hwidiem was established in 1956 as a small post-treatment center. Over the decades, it has grown into a 110-bed facility, serving as a major referral hub for patients from the Ahafo, Western, Bono, Western North, and parts of the Ashanti region. However, the facility's emergency unit is currently facing an infrastructure and equipment crisis. Sister Georgina Rorinsia Kwesin is the hospital's manager.
Given the growing population, it has become a challenge, especially when there are emergencies to attend to. Emergencies will happen and patients will be turned down because there's no bed to accommodate them. That is why we are calling on all stakeholders, benefactors, friends, clients, families, people of Hwidiem and beyond to come together and assist us and be able to give the best of care to the people who access the facility.
The nurse manager of the hospital, Gladys Bidiako, lamented that operating with obsolete equipment in a 7-bed space has caused severe discomfort and hindered quality healthcare delivery.
We mostly nurse patients on the floor when the place is full. We don't want the situation of no bed syndrome to happen here. It doesn't make the work comfortable. Workflow is impeded when we don't have enough space. And looking at the catchment area, we will need about 30 beds to be able to cater for emergencies we receive at the units.
The fundraising drive has received strong backing from traditional authorities. The Akomohene of the Fidium Traditional Council, Bafo Ej Fofie, call on individuals and corporate bodies worldwide to donate building materials, cash, and medical equipment to ensure the realization of the new 30-bed edifice.
This facility, when inaugurated, will be an edifice which is going to help PDM and its environs. Because as of now, currently, the hospital is catering for about 4 regions. It is also a referral hospital. We are calling on all and sundry, those who have heard and those who have not heard, that they should come in the aid of Nana Manhene for PDM Traditional Council and the St. Elizabeth Hospital.
The expansion of the emergency unit is a critical step forward, safeguarding lives across the 5 beneficiary regions. It is hoped that corporate organizations and the general public will heed to this urgent call to bring an end to the distressing space challenges at the facility. Emmanuel Edujemfi, Joy News, Fidium.
A 32-year-old man we are calling Kofi never imagined he would one day question the paternity of his son, but after his fiancée denied taking money that had gone missing from his room, mistrust began to set in. The incident led Kofi to secretly take his 4-month-old baby for a DNA test, hoping his worst fear would not come true. Here are excerpts of Mavis Kabuko's feature, Who is My Father?
Initially, I didn't have that thought at all, but because I didn't suspect anything negative. I didn't suspect that maybe she's doing something outside, or I didn't have that thought at all initially. But during the pregnancy, something happened.
For 8 days, Kofi waited for the DNA results. The uncertainty weighed on him. It was a test he never imagined he would one day have to take.
You wish this to fight. You've killed him now. Congratulations. So move.
Just months earlier, life looked very different. Kofi had fallen in love. Then came news that changed everything. He was going to be a father.
I was the one that she called that she's having certain symptoms. It happened, and when we checked, it shows that she's pregnant. Yeah. And I decided not to tamper with it. Even though I'm not married to her, so I decided not to tamper with it. So I gave her the assurance that whatever thing I have to do, whatever responsibility that I have to take, or whatever formal thing I have to do, I'm ready to do it. Because I was happy that at the end of the day, the baby is finally here, after the trauma and all of that.
A healthy baby boy. For many fathers, that would have been enough. But for Kofi, questions remained. Months before the child was born, money went missing from his room. What followed left him struggling to trust the woman he loved.
I had something in my room that got stolen. Yes, so, and she was the only one who had access to my room. So, because for a lady to be able to see a lot of lies like this, what if? So for us to be sure, when the baby comes successfully, we have to try and check if it is ours.
The issue dragged on for weeks. Eventually, she admitted taking the money, but the damage had already been done.
From further confrontations, that's when she admitted. But because if you are the one who did it and you say it once and for all, I think it will not prolong the issue like that. So it's made me lose trust in she was not truthful. And she said a lot of lies and she made up a lot of stories just to cover her, just to cover what she did and all of that. So that is what triggered the DNA, because we felt that if she can say all these things, what if maybe when you were with her, she had another boy somewhere or another guy somewhere?
Kofi is not alone. Across Ghana, more men are turning to DNA tests for one reason: to know for certain whether a child is theirs.
The 2025 DNA Insight report, over 87% of people or fathers who tested with us or who did the test with us had it been for personal confirmation. They just wanted to clear their doubts. So largely, most of them is to clear their personal doubts, wants to be sure if this child is for me. And that one is based on various reasons. Some, the phenotype, as in the physical appearance of the child, some, the lifestyle of the mother, some, the family, and all those. So they all fall under the personal reasons, like he wants to confirm. It's just feel that is court case to settle a court issue, immigration purposes, or family issues. Most of them, it was true. They want to clear their personal doubt.
The findings are striking. Blueprint DNA analyzed nearly 500 paternity cases in 2025.
And out of these cases, of the 42% of the paternity tests conducted came out as paternity exclusion. What I mean is that the tested fathers, or the fathers who were tested, came out as not being the biological father. If I'm breaking it down, it means 4 out of 10. Out of the 10 cases done, 4 of them came out negative, meaning paternity excluded. Yeah, the father isn't the biological father.
When Kofi finally decided to test, he kept it to himself. His partner did not know. Neither did his family.
I just told her I'm taking the boy to somewhere because we were planning for our naming ceremonies. I'm taking her to a friend who is a tailor to take measurements and all of that. So I went for the baby, ordered my ride, and then we went to Blueprint, their Dansuman branch. So they took the baby sample and they took my sample as well.
The child was almost 4 months old when Kofi decided to go ahead with the test. Then came the wait.
Anytime I'm in the office, I'll be counting the days. Today is the 3rd day. When I come to office the next day, today is the 4th day, like that. So I got a mail when I was in the office. Yes, but I couldn't check in the office because they gave me a card which has a serial number, which I left at home. So I had to close, get back to home. So I go home around 7. The first thing I did was to look for the card. And then I entered the serial number and the mail opened. The results was actually what I was expecting, because it would have been a disaster if it went the other way. The results showed that I was the father of the child.
The doubts were gone. The son he had loved from birth was indeed his. For Kofi, the test brought relief. For others, the search for answers continues. As DNA testing becomes more common, questions once settled by trust alone are increasingly being taken to the laboratory.
We've had news. The child is even 8 years, 9 years. You go and check, the child is not your son or daughter. So if you don't have doubt, if you're okay, fine. Yes, but the moment you begin to have doubts, it's better you go and check.
Whether the result brings reassurance or heartbreak, more men are choosing certainty. And for them, the answer may be only a DNA test away. Mavis Kabuko's report read to you.
Let's talk about education this evening because hundreds of lecturers from the colleges of education stormed the Jubilee House today, presenting a petition to President John Mahama over what they describe as the unlawful downgrading of their ranks and salaries. The petitioners, who are called the Network of Professional Teacher Educators Ghana, say members holding master's and doctoral degrees have been reduced to lower ranks through a migration process implemented by the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. According to them, the move has resulted in salary reductions, loss of allowances, and the recovery of monies they had legitimately earned. Ramat Bashir has more.
The petition follows months of disagreement between affected lecturers and the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission over the implementation of a staff migration process under the Colleges of Education Scheme of Services. The lecturers, members of the Network of Professional Teacher Educators Ghana, argue that the migration exercise wrongly downgraded lecturers holding masters and doctoral degrees to lower ranks despite meeting the required academic qualifications. After presenting their petition at the Jubilee House, the affected lecturers say they have given government 2 weeks to intervene and restore their ranks, salaries, and conditions of services. Here is lead convener and president of the association, Robert Richard.
To Honorable Austin Gambe, who also came in, explained issues to GTEC and NLC that it is improper to downgrade somebody and then allow a law that has been made to take a retrospective effect to affect the person. But that one too didn't hold. And as we speak now, when we were put on the university salary structure from January 2025, they said that it will take effect from 2023. 2023-2024, we worked and then received salary according to the work and allowances according to the work we did. But because of the retrospective effect of the law, we have been deducted, retronated, some over 30,000, 40,000, and so on, from January 2025 to June 2025. We have been deducted these monies. And as we speak right now, some of us are still paying money to UOCO because they claim 2023-2024, because the letter is taking retrospective effect, we were not qualified, and then the HOD and other responsibility that we held in the colleges and were paid duly for, they are taking that out of. Some people are paying 1,853 every month, others are paying more than that as we speak now. So we realize that our father is the last person that we can come to because he is the father of the land, and then we are petitioning him to intercede so that we will be given a concession and then be placed on assistant lecturers. And as we are pleading that he intercede, we are pleading that when he intercedes, our colleagues who have retired will also be considered and then be paid what they were due and what they have lost, so that at the end of the day, we will all be happy to work.
Receiving the petition on behalf of President John Dramani Mahama, presidential staffer Nanaya Jantua assured the lecturers that their concerns will be conveyed to President for the necessary attention.
President, the Chief of Staff, and I'll present this to them for all your issues to be looked at. You know, Ghana is a democratic country, and what you are doing here is not illegal. You have the right to demonstrate. You have the right to speak your mind. We are grateful that you've gone through this peacefully, and we are all here to collect what your concerns are.
The Network of Professional Teacher Educators Ghana says it remains hopeful that government will urgently address what it describes as injustice against qualified lecturers across the colleges of education. Ramat Bashiru for Joy News, Accra.
Labour consultant Austin Game is joining me on Zoom right now for a conversation on the back of this. Mr. Game, welcome to the program. What do you make of this petition? Do they have a case? Kindly unmute your microphone so we can hear you. Hello, Mr. Game.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, much better.
Good, good. Well, to be honest with you, I have followed religiously these concerns that my friends in the colleges of education have. I have voluntarily accompanied them to the National Labour Commission on some few occasions and have spoken to the GTEC also with a view to settling the matter without getting to where they've gotten to now. There are two sides of every coin, and we have to properly place it in the context it deserves. The reality is that the colleges of education are now or have been in transition. They have not fully come out from it yet. Transition because they were polytechnics and were converted into tertiary institutions.
Right.
Appropriately, the employer reserves the right under the Labor Act and by their own laws as well, but properly so under the Labor Act, to ensure that they come out with specification as to what kind of qualification that they may require to enable the teachers to practice their trade as lecturers at the university. So clearly, that is not lost to them, and they've agreed with them that they were going to give them a certain number of months or maybe some few years to enable them do their best to qualify and therefore be placed where appropriate within the specifications that the schools deserve to have. Unfortunately, the whole thing appears to be done in a manner that the transition aspect of retroactivity that should not take place the way it's taking place was the concern I raised with them at that time. That look, you are transiting. It's not like you have set up a brand new college of education and you are asking the people to do A, B, C, D, but this one, they were somewhere and you were moving them, and they have actually been teaching the very subject matter that you wanted a certain professor or a certain qualification to hold. They have agreed. Some of them have gone through it. Some of them have qualified, and therefore they've been properly placed. These other people who have not been able to go through it fully yet are the people concerned now, and the retroactive aspect of it was the main concern. Having said so, it's also a fact that the employer reserves the right to be the one employing those that they deem fit to ensure that they have the quality that they want. They have the right to write their policies, formulate their policies, execute them, and their programs in a manner that is befitting for that particular institution. But like I said, I have accompanied them on a number of occasions. They've been to my office on a number of occasions. I've spoken to the GTEC people themselves at that meeting and said, look, in the retroactive aspect of it, please be mindful of the fact that the people have already been teaching, and therefore you cannot downgrade them in that respect. Where they can be placed appropriately after the due date arrived, you discuss with them, you are not throwing them off.
Right.
That, unfortunately, it appears they were not listening, and that has led to them now submitting a petition to the president.
Mr. Game, don't go yet. Maxwell Bonu is the national president of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana. He's also joining the conversation right now. Mr. Bonu, welcome to the program. This is a huge petition that has been sent to the seat of government. What do you make of that?
Brother, and good afternoon to you and the listeners, as well as viewers. And good afternoon to our counsel, Mr. Austin Game. In fact, this issue that has come up again is an issue that has persisted since the day that we migrated onto the university salary structure. That is around 24th of January 2025. In fact, before the migration, we never knew that GTEC had actually downgraded or placed some of our colleagues on a lower rank. It was only after the migration that we got to know about this. We actually petitioned GTEC and drew their attention to the fact that these colleagues of ours are experienced colleagues. They have taught in the colleges for about 20-some, 30 years. So whilst you are migrating us and you are also looking at qualification, you should also be mindful of the experience that they hold. And as a result of that, there should be some concession to be granted to them, just as they have been doing to other institutions in the past. But unfortunately, the regulator wouldn't listen to us. We have gone to National Labour Commission on this matter, and the commission also offered that the regulator reserved the right to do the migration and also place us appropriately, since we have asked to be placed on the universal salary structure. If the regulator feels that some of our members do not have the qualification to be placed as assistant lecturers, then we should be able to accept that. But the fact remains that while the migration took place, there was this interim arrangement factor, an allowance that we have received in the past. GTEC decided to also retronate them for the fact that since some have benefited from the arrears as a result of placement as assistant lecturers, and they also retrospectively have not qualified, GTEC decided to take all those money from them through controller by retronating them. And we felt that that was too harsh, because at the time that they had worked, they were qualified. So why not give that money to them? Why not just allow them to have that money? So that going forward, if you do not want to pay the allowances to them, then that's also another issue we could look at. But unfortunately, GTEC would not listen to any of such argument. And that is what has brought us where we are today again. Yes.
How long did GTEC give to your colleagues to migrate onto the platforms that they wanted you to migrate onto?
Well, as for the migration, my brother, it was a struggle for CTAC when we presented documents and evidence that we qualified to be migrated onto the universal salary structure. In fact, GTEC disagreed with us, including FAIR, which is the Salary Commission. And they took us to National Labour Commission.
Okay.
Someone asked before NLC that we were engaged on unfair labor practices. And we also had to now submit all relevant documents and make argument that we deserve what we're asking. And NLC actually came out with ruling. Just that, unfortunately, NLC did not take into consideration the qualification of some of our colleagues. And they did not provide a clear ruling on what is happening currently. It was a decision that was taken by the regulator that since we have asked to be migrated onto a universal salary structure, they will do it based on qualification. And that's what is created the problem. So as a result of the qualification, our colleagues, some of our colleagues do not have MPhil, which is the terminal degree that GTEC is actually looking at, to place them as assistant lecturers. So as a result of that, they were rather placed as principal instructors. And they also felt that with their experience and the years that they have served in the colleges, if you are implementing a new directive, it should not be done retrospectively. And I think the labor law also supports this. And that has been the struggle for us up to this time round.
But many will argue that there's a clear distinction between a polytechnic and the university. Now you are fully fledged universities. You've been migrated onto the university salary structure. Why are some of your members still reluctant to get the required certificate or the MPhil, the minimum of MPhil that you mentioned? Why are they struggling to meet the requirement, but they still want to continue taking the salaries?
Thank you, my brother. I just want to correct something. As our learned counsel said, we were not polytechnics. We were training colleges.
Training colleges, I beg your pardon. Training colleges, yeah.
Yeah, training colleges. Then they moved on to colleges of education.
Right.
We were initially training colleges, now colleges of education. Then eventually, that was around 2016, when we were actually migrated from training colleges to colleges of education in 2016. Then subsequently, around 24th January 2025, were migrated onto the university salary structure.
Right.
Now, with the question you have asked, yeah, it is true that we are no longer going
a training
by
college.
The training college. So we agree in principle that yes, we have asked to be migrated onto the university salary structure, and we have been indeed migrated. But we are looking at the processes that went on during the migration. You see, one of the challenges that came out of this was that GTEC and FEWIGIS at a point have hidden the final document that they were going to use for the migration from us. We didn't even know that some of our colleagues were downgraded at the time until the migration took place. So as we speak, a number of them have taken steps to actually upgrade themselves. They have acquired the MPhil certificate, and some have been placed on the assistant lecturer rank. But the issue they are raising is that the retro netting that was actually done by GTEC shouldn't have taken place in the first place. We actually petitioned GTEC on this matter. Initially, they promised that they will look into it. Later, the Director General disagreed with us that he will no longer go to controller for that money to be refunded. So where we have gotten to, I think it will help all of us if the Director General will consider their plight, because taking away all the allowance that they used to take at the time that we were in college of education, and for them to start from all over, from the very beginning, is quite a difficult thing in the current economic situation in which we find ourselves. So if they can take steps to actually get the money that they have taken from them, the retro netting, those money refunded to them, I think it will help, because you are expecting our colleagues to go to the university to do the top up, and these people actually needed money to enable them get this top up done. And the very money that they needed, you have taken it away from them. So how would they be able to get the program done? Those are the challenges we are talking about.
Don't go yet. Austin Game is still with me. Mr. Game, so what's next for these aggrieved teachers, you think?
Well, I'm glad they have petitioned. That's number one. Number two, it's important to affirm that, like was said by their president, the employer reserves the right to specify the kind of qualification that will be required to teach in a tertiary institution. Now, it's also true that in spite of all this, the facts remain that the same people who, by virtue of longevity in the colleges of, in the then training colleges, moving on to the colleges of education now, are the ones still even teaching today. They haven't got the required number of people who may have that qualification to go and handle the subject matter they are talking about now. And maybe see them off, because if you don't need them in the school, then don't allow them to be there. Let them go, so that you don't have this kind of situation on your hand. But if they remain there, they are still teaching the same subject matter. At the time, these were some of the things that was being highlighted at the Labor Commission. They are still teaching the same subject matter.
Right.
So what do? Are they going to arrange to have new people to replace them? If you are to replace them, replacement, there is a requirement you have to pass through.
Okay.
Then you replace them, and that will end the problem.
Right.
But in the meantime, if they don't have the people who are qualified to take this on, then this is where the word compromise once can be looked at.
Right. Austin Game is a labor consultant. Thank you very much. Maxwell Bunu, we heard earlier, he's the president of the College of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG. My name is Kenneth Jesse. That's it for the Pulse this evening. Thank you very much. Let's now take you to London, where President John Mahama is currently addressing the congregation there.
And indeed on mutual aid. I'll ask you first what the impact of the US removing USAID from much of the region has been. And then a bit about your plans for, what countries can do together, which has been very striking.
It was abrupt.
Yes.
Happened out of the blue. We had factored over the years our cooperation with USAID into our budget. And it went to quite essential things, especially with healthcare. A total of $154 million averagely a year. And out of this, about $75 million went into critical areas of our healthcare. It included PEPFAR, it included critical HIV testing, it included supply of antiretrovirals, it included the fight against malaria, and support to several research institutions. And so the withdrawal was quite abrupt, and we had to find a way of making up for it. And so what we did, and Ghana has come out quite well from the withdrawal. What we did was, the previous government had capped our national insurance. They called it the Capping and Alignment Law. And so every statutory fund had to be a certain proportion of the national budget. And if the fund exceeded that amount, then the extra funds went into the consolidated fund, we call it. And so one of the first things we did was to uncap that fund, the National Health Insurance Fund. And you won't believe that it freed up more than 3 billion cedis, equivalent to almost $300 million, going back into the health insurance fund. And so we asked the health insurance to make up for the shortfall in USAID funding, which they were able to do. And so we've been able to fill that gap. We've come out much better, but there are many other countries that really are finding it difficult to cope. In countries like Gambia, USAID was responsible for the school feeding program to prevent malnutrition and all that. And for smaller countries like that, it makes it more difficult for them. The other countries that are in debt distress, if you're spending 40 to 50% of your total revenue to service debts, then it means what is left over for critical areas like health and education is not much. You can't invest in that area. So several countries are really making heavy weather of what has happened. But that is why we met in Accra and decided on the Accra resets to let African countries realize that this is not a short-term event, and that increasingly humanitarian assistance and overseas development assistance is going to continue to dwindle. And so it means that we must take our destinies into our own hands and provision better for our own health outcomes, not only health, but education and all the other things. And how do we do that? We must cut waste, govern better, reduce corruption, and create extra resources to be able to invest in what is important to our people.
We have the US, under its current administration, behaving abruptly, as you've said. We have China with its own agenda. Do you feel that African countries are finding a way to find their own path between these two superpowers?
I do think that African countries working together can create a better outcome for our people. It's unfortunate that in the early days after independence, we did not heed a lot of the advocacy to unite, and we came out as 54 separate countries. Some with a better viability advantage than others. And so I think that if we work together, knowing that we're stronger together, it will create a better outcome for our people. And that's why I think that the African Continental Free Trade Area is one of the most transformational, protocols that our leaders have signed. And if if we work at it, I'm sure that our relative strengths will reinforce each other and create a better outcome for our people. It's not easy because even though we can see that we're beginning to trade more amongst ourselves, the pace at which it is expanding needs to be increased. But there are constraints in terms of infrastructure, in terms of logistics. You know, it's been easier to ship items from Ghana to Liverpool than it is to ship the same items from Ghana to Kenya. And so those are constraints that exist that we must overcome. We must put in the railway infrastructure to be able to move goods from Cape to Cairo. We must improve the road network between our countries. We must build bridges. We must create network for sharing power. I mean, there's a lot that we can do. But I believe that little by little we'll put this infrastructure in place. And if we trade more amongst ourselves, we allow freer movement of our people between our countries. And unfortunately, just recently, some xenophobic, issues have arisen. I think that it defeats the purpose of African integration, and it goes against the principles of Pan-Africanism.
You made a powerful call for United Nations Security Council reform on grounds of justice, representation. So it's one that Britain supports. What do you think, though, the chances are of African countries of really bringing pressure to bear? There are a lot of countries now lined up demanding reform, but we all know the obstacles, which are the vetoes, depending on how it's framed, of different members of the Permanent Five. What do you think the chances are?
I believe it's a thing whose time has come. Like I said in my speech, we cannot have a multilateral order that is unequal. These are inequalities that have existed in the power structure from the post-war era. And I think that with the shifting geopolitics, one of the things we must address is equality in the global order. In any new system that takes over from whatever we're used to must factor in equality of nations. And that's how come we demand that Africa should have better representation on the Security Council. We met in Ezulwini and came to a consensus, that was the Ezulwini consensus, that we should not only increase the number of Africa's representation on the Security Council, but also give a veto. It's been years, and the calls have continued to fall on deaf ears. I believe that there were some mistakes in Ezulwini. We can tackle it in a two-step process. First, let's sort the issue of representation, and then secondly, we can discuss the veto. Unfortunately, because the two have been bundled into one, it makes the 5 permanent members a bit more reluctant to take the step of increasing representation. So I'll advocate that the African Union separate the two things. First, let's solve the issue of representation, and then after that, we can discuss the issue of veto.
Really interesting. For what it's worth, I agree with you that the time has come. Some years ago, I would say to my colleagues, look, let's not spend too much time on this because nothing is moving. But my sense is actually a critical mass of pressure is beginning to build. I must ask you one thing about internal Ghanaian politics. And I've got a lot of questions already in it. Thank you, Samuel Badu, and others, which is whether you will sign the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill.
Oh, wow.
That your Parliament has passed. We're speaking on the first day of Pride, of the month of Pride here, and there is a lot of interest in Ghana, as well as here in the UK and in Europe. What you will do on this?
The Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill has been a bill that has probably evoked the most interest in Ghana. It shows how, important issues of family values are.
It is not the only reason Ghana's in the news. It has been one.
Yeah. Parliament has been considering it, and it was supposed to have been passed last week. There have been a few issues raised. One, that there wasn't quorum when it was passed. That's an issue that has come up. And then two, there were some procedural lapses in terms of its passage. I just got some communication that the Speaker was reading a statement to address the issue of the lapses in the passage of the bill. And so, like I said, when I was the opposition leader, the President has a number of options in this matter. It must come for assent. And so once the President gets it, you go through it because you are not part of the discussion in Parliament. And so the legal representative, the legal counsel in the Presidency and the Attorney General would sit on it because it was a private member's motion. Right. This was not a government bill. And so we'll look at it and make sure that everything is in order before the President is advised to assent. The President has another option if there are some things that he thinks are a problem. He can refer to the Council of State for advice. The Council of State is an advisory body to the President, and so they will take a look at it, and then they will advise the President. And if there are issues, substantial issues that are raised, the President would return the bill to Parliament, indicating exactly what the issues are. And so there's still quite a while to go before that bill becomes law.
Thank you for setting that out so clearly. Let me ask you one final one, which is about the Commonwealth. We now have Shirley Bochwe of Ghana as the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. What role is the Commonwealth for Ghana? What value is it here?
Yeah, for us, we continue to be a proud member of the Commonwealth. We value our historic relations with the UK. Indeed, a lot of our institutions are founded on UK traditions, our experience from colonialism. And so our justice system is based on common law. You know, legal traditions are similar. Our curriculum in school is virtually based on what we inherited from the colonial period. And so a lot of things are very common to us with historic relations with the UK. And we continue to be a proud member of the Commonwealth. I do think that the Commonwealth is still relevant. We're gathering in Cambodia in November, I guess. And there are many similarities between our nations. And I think it creates a platform for us to collaborate in another setting.
Great. Thank you very much. Let's have the lights up and hands up for questions. Right.